do you find yourself doing, and how do you go from being in a constant everyday workout regimen and training to like it just coming to an abrupt stop?
It's a good question, actually. Well, so I actually wrestled after college too. So I didn't do the traditional thing and go get a job right away. So I wrestled for another 6 years after college. Um, and they paid me like a stipend. And then I did some extra like coaching or privates on the side to make a little bit more money. Um, and then yeah, now I am done competing. It's been a couple years. And I mean, wrestling's still a big part of my life. I mean, I guess I wouldn't call it life after wrestling. I would call it life after competing.
That's a good way to put it.
Because yeah, so I'm still in wrestling. I think I'm always going to be in wrestling. Um, I didn't even realize like I didn't even realize I have a choice, to even like, somebody at work said like, I don't know how you can do both. And she actually, um, what's the word I'm looking for? She kind of hinted that I should like maybe not coach wrestling, and I was like, I can't do that. What are you talking? It
Like
feels
what?
mandatory to me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, so but yeah, I mean it's totally different. I realized that even when I was competing, one thing that I remind myself because you get really nervous before a match and or before a tournament, and I just would keep telling myself like everybody everybody in the gymnasium, at least the adults, not the kids, because kids are the ones competing, but everybody in the gymnasium wishes that they could have an opportunity like that again. I mean, I can't like I'm at work right now. Like not everyone's gonna gather around me to watch me do something. So it's unique sport. What's so great about sports is some people can't handle the spotlight, but it's it's a unique time of your life where all eyes will be on you. And after you're done competing, like you don't get that anymore. Like, you know, um,
Afterwards,
but
you're just a regular guy. When you're not competing,
yeah,
you're just a regular guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I mean, I guess other than that, um, uh, you know, wrestling is hopefully gives you values that you take out into the real world. That's something that I preach. Um, the work ethic. A big thing with wrestling is you have to manage your weight. So like doing stuff outside of the clock, right? Like outside of the
Outside of
time
your
that you're supposed
comfort
to work.
zone too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and for me, I went and had 3 kids. They're all young, so that's been that has a lot of my attention. But yeah, I mean, it's totally different. I mean, everybody I know, that used to compete, especially if they quit wrestling, they miss it and they wish they can get it back. But I'll tell you, there are some positives. Like one thing I don't miss is cutting weight. I really don't miss it. So happy that's
Yeah.
done with. I don't even really check my weight anymore. If I feel good and look good, don't really need to step on a scale
I'm a
to
firm
verify
believer in
that.
that. Yeah, I'm a firm
Yeah.
believer in that. If I feel good and I feel like I look good, then I'm not stepping on a scale because I'm not going to let that number dictate like what I should be eating or doing, you know.
Right.
I was told to ask you a secret question about how you learned some of
Okay.
your wrestling moves back in the day, and how
Okay.
do
I,
you
I'm
think
I'm sure I know who. Yeah. Go ahead.
do you think that maybe using action figures to teach yourself like wrestling moves is a great concept?
I think it's very smart. I still grab them. So
It
I
works for
still I
you.
still yeah. I think just for doing it for so many years, it's kind of like muscle. Like I get kind of fidgety if I'm just sitting there. So I'll grab 2 wrestlers, and I'm pretty good at using them too. And yeah, yeah, it's helped me learn some move. Everybody who does a sport, you visualize it, right? So all I'm doing is I'm like I have physical, let's call them
Yes.
tools. I'm
Yeah.
trying to rationalize being an adult playing with toys, but
You don't have to rationalize that. I think
right, yeah,
it's a great concept and it's a great theory because um, if you take two wrestlers in a room and you position them, what they're experiencing is how they feel in that position. Now, if you literally take two action figures and put them in a position, then instead of those wrestlers just kind of feeling it, they can visualize it and see it. And it's
yeah,
I think it's a good idea actually, and it
yeah.
worked well for you. So
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple moves that I specific moves that I learned from just messing around with them, and yeah. And the other thing too is, your body can only do so much. I mean, um, you know what I mean? And like, like let's say you're a kid, your parents take you to practice, and then you go home. Well, like, there's not everybody has like tons of opportunity to keep
Yeah.
like if it was 9 o'clock at night and I thought of something something was bothering me at practice, like I can't just
Yeah.
I didn't really have anybody to wrestle with in my house. Now there's some people who have brothers or sisters that they can wrestle around with, but the other thing too is like your body can only do so much anyway. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I'd just be sitting there and um like I remember I thought of this like standing switch idea, and it was from the wrestler. So, but yeah, yep.
That's
So
awesome.
my son plays with them now, but he's just and I actually it's funny because like I'm getting upset with him because I'm worried he's gonna break them. So he's
You don't
throwing
like
them
sharing your
across the
toys.
room, and yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, I'm putting these away now. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So the kids, you mentioned that you have three younger ones.
hmm
What do you think about them getting involved in wrestling? Do you see that in their future? Is that kind of for them to decide? Are you going to kind of hint and guide them towards the sport, or what do you think about it?
Um, so with girls wrestling, like growing up, I didn't really think I didn't think I would have my daughter wrestle. It was not popular, and um I felt that some dads had their daughters wrestle because they didn't have a son and they were kind of being selfish.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't want if like let's say if I didn't have a son, I didn't want to make my daughter wrestle because I didn't have a son.
Yeah.
But now wrestling's really growing, and I think girls wrestling is really cool. So my approach with my kids are actually currently I'm kind of trying to decide what is right, but basically my approach has been I'm not going to force them to wrestle, and what's kind of happened over these last couple years is they're around wrestling all the time, and my wife would take them to the wrestling room because she'd have to go to work and I had to watch the kids, so they are very familiar with wrestling. They know I'm a wrestling coach, and they watch me wrestle. We have wrestling mats in our garage, and none of it is designed to influence them to wrestle, but yeah, they're just around it and they know what it is. And so what I tell people is like, if they don't want to wrestle, then there's no way it's meant to be because it's right in front of their faces all the
Right.
time.
Right.
And as of now, they do want, like, Maverick's obsessed. My son, who's 3, he's obsessed with wrestling and he wants to wrestle. And I'm trying to actually hold him back a little bit. I'll wrestle with him. We're just playing around. But yeah, like if he is 10 years old and he doesn't want to wrestle, it's like, geez, it's like, what am I going to do? Yell at him, and that's going to work. It's going to make
Right.
him, so
Right.
and I'd be happy either way. I mean, selfishly, obviously I know the sport really well, but I also feel like I can help them, if they end up becoming like a good soccer player. I have no pull in the soccer world. I don't know anything about soccer. I can't kick a ball. So I would just be a regular dad, probably one of the crazy dads too, because I don't know what I'm doing. But with wrestling, I feel like I have a lot of control over it. And I think they'd be pretty good at it. I think they have the genetics. So, but if they don't want to wrestle, then that's fine. I don't have to like live, I don't have to relive my life through them. I want them to have their own life, and I just want to be a part of it.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah. My
to
my
answer,
4 year
I think Maverick's for sure gonna wrestle. The baby's too young to tell. She just seems cute. Our oldest Kennedy, we thought she was a wrestler. She's really like theatric though, so I have no idea. Like she's very smart. I don't know if she truly wants to wrestle or if she just likes doing things. It's like,
Yeah.
but like Maverick's more like he's obsessed with cars. He's obsessed with dinosaurs. He's obsessed with wrestling. Kennedy can kind of do. She's into 500 things.
That's awesome. My 4 year old
Yeah.
daughter, she is around wrestling all the time. And she has her own little Sly Fox singlet. And when I took my son to one of his tournaments,
Oh, nice.
she put her singlet on and we got to the tournament and he had to fill out his paper with his information. Well, she wanted to fill out her paper too. And so she's filling her paper out, and the guy like stamped her hand to make her feel like she was a part of it. And she, for real, thought that she was going to go out on the wrestling mat at that tournament. And I'm like, honey, no, like, no.
We're just pretending right now.
Right. And
That's
so
funny.
she gets pretty gnarly in the living room. And I'm like, you got to calm down. I got to like hold her back a little bit. Like, you're a princess right now.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I feel like letting kids explore their own options and kind of pave their own way.
Yeah.
They want to
So
do.
with Kennedy, Kennedy, yeah.
No, you're good.
You there?
Yep.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So with Kennedy, like basically she'd do the whole thing, but then if we sent her out to wrestle, she'd run away. We're like, okay. So
Yep. Yeah.
yeah.
How is it balancing like work life? Like wrestling, obviously it's a way of life with the training and the coaching and the three kids and the wife. Like how do you balance all of that?
It's honestly hard. That's all I can say. I mean, it's been really hard. The wrestling part for me is kind of easy. The work part's new. You know, I'm working at a car dealership. It's new to me and everything. So it's tough. I have a schedule to where it works. Um, and then yeah, of course, there's the family time too. It's like you know you're getting home late, and but I do spend I guess I spend quality time with my kids. Like I make a point to, but I mean, yeah, it's a lot. I don't really have a lot of time to myself, and and I guess I'm fine with that. I'm enjoying all three right now, and it is a challenge. I don't think your average Joe can do it. I think wrestling could probably prepare you for it, but you know, I do think back to life when I was single and didn't have kids, and I was just in school, and it was just like I kind of look back on those days, and I was like, man, that was pretty easy.
Hmm. You thought it
Because
was
it
hard
is
back
hard
then.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really hard back then, but I realized how much time. I mean, you know, if it was a Sunday morning or Saturday morning, and I could sleep in if I wanted to, like nobody cared, you know. And like now it's like every single day I'm on call,
Hmm.
and but it's very rewarding too. I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's hard going to work every day, but I get that's my paycheck, right? That's how I provide for my family.
And I
Yeah, it's
feel
hard
like
to go to wrestling
wrestling,
practice after a long day of work, but
yeah, and
yeah,
I feel like
go ahead.
wrestling kind of prepared you for that. Like, yeah, it's hard,
Yeah,
but the reward is so great. So you get what
yeah,
you put into it.
yeah,
When I
and
ask people about, so I watched some of like your old matches, 2015 and like older stuff. And when I was asking people like, well, what was he best at? What was he best known for? Um, I was told how relentless you were on the mat. Like your pace was insane. Your defense, just like everything. You were just such a well-rounded wrestler.
yeah,
And I feel like now that you're coaching, you're gonna be training and passing all of those skills on that you were onto these kids. Is it kind of cool to see like all these kids going out? Like you coached Matt Hart, you like is it kind of neat to see these kids kind of evolve and move on and learn from you and implement that?
of course. And really, I mean, I guess maybe besides being a teacher, maybe uh, you don't. A lot of people can't say they've had that experience. So that's what coaching does for you. Like, and the thing is too is like when you're a competitor. I mean, I guess I would probably say a lot of people like competing more than coaching, because it's about you. Coaching's about them, right? But what's cool about coaching is if you really have that, um, if you like connecting with other people, I mean, you can experience it over and over again, right? So like let's say you're an amazing coach and you have coached several state champions. It's like you get to have that experience so many times. Whereas as a competitor, you get it one time, right? So as a competitor, I can only win states 4 times in high school. As a coach, I could coach 50 state champions.
Yeah.
So but it's so cool. And one thing, it's fun to coach the guys who are really good, you know, they're good at wrestling. Everybody appreciates someone who's good at what they do.
Yeah.
but then you also teach them a move and they can pick it up quicker, and then you can see them hit it in a big match. And I think that's what every coach's like dream is. But I will say too, the other part of coaching that's awesome is you get a kid who comes into the room and he's a freshman and he can barely tie his shoes and he's not coordinated and he doesn't know wrestling. And then by his senior year, he ends up qualifying for state. Like that's like probably one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. There was a kid back in Dundee, Michigan, and now I wasn't around for his freshman year, but I think I was around for his sophomore year. And then by his senior year, he actually placed at state. And like everybody was in disbelief about it. And I didn't see who he was when he came through the door his freshman year, but I was like, I'm not surprised. I'm like, he's shown up to every single practice and he works hard. And so, but that was a really cool moment. Um, and and there's I have plenty more, but like that's a really cool thing when you have someone, and then you can kind of see with those kids too, like they come in and they're not confident in themselves, and then by the time they go off to college, like they're like a different person.
Yeah. What is your view or opinion on like committing to a D1 school versus D2? Like, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like it's D1 or bust?
No, no way. For me there was no absolutely no way I would go uh anything but Division 1. I honest to God, I would have taken I would have went, I would have walked on, and I would have paid full tuition if I had to, which I would recommend for other people. That's not smart. You should not do that. But I guess it depends on what your goal is. The other thing too, also that, and that's a good question because it's hard. Like, okay, I wanted to go D1, uh, obviously, real bad. I was really good. Like, it was realistic that I could do really well. And
Mhm.
I actually will say I don't think people realistically thought I could be an NCAA finalist, but to wrestle in a Division 1 program and even be a starter, like that was very realistic. Um, but yeah, some kids that I've tried helping over the last few years, um, they want to go Division 1, and I always tell people like I don't want to say anyone could go Division 1, but if that's truly what you want to do, then if you like, I've seen guys on my team, like at Edinburgh, there's a few teammates that I had that they weren't great wrestlers. They worked really hard and they fit on the team. Like not everybody has to be, it depends on what your goals are and what role you are on the team. So if you want to wrestle for Division 1, like you absolutely can do that. But what are your goals? Is your goal to be a national champion?
Realistic
Well,
goals. Yeah.
realistic, yeah. Now if you're hell bent on wrestling Division 1 and that's it, then fine. Like let's say you pursue it. Let's say you have a kid and he's hell bent on going Division 1 and he wants to be national champion. And let's say he goes to the University of Michigan and he ends up being a 4-year backup. If that was worth it to him, then great. If that was your goal and that's what you were going for, then great. If your goal is, you want to keep wrestling, maybe it's scholarship. You're like, hey, I'd like wrestling to be like a tool for me to get a scholarship. Then we would start talking about Division 2 or Division 3 schools. I mean, wrestling teaches you a lot of stuff, but competing is not going to last forever. So if you have an opportunity to go to an amazing Division 2 or Division 3 school and they're going to pay you to be a part of their program, then I'm 100% for it. So I am pretty big on that. I would not say I'm D1 or bust at all. I think people should consider Division 2 and Division 3 more than they do.
Mhm.
Um, but I get it. Everybody wants to be in that spotlight.
So much that plays a part in when you're trying to decide where to go to school and where you want to wrestle. There's so many factors that play in, whether it's family, how far you're going to be away from home, the opportunity, what education you're going to get. There's so much. When you
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So what I was gonna say, so that's what I tell the kids that ask me, or the kids I'm trying to help. Like I say, like write down, like make a list of like what's important to you, and I kind of help. Like you should look at location. Is money a factor? Um, Location, money. Yeah, how important is it for you to go to Division 1? And when you write that stuff down, it gets easier it gets easier to make those answers. Like, so if they wrote down like, yeah, I can't afford, I don't want to take out a huge loan. Well, if the only scholarship you got was to Ashland University, then you should be going to Ashland University then, right? If you're like, hey, my family's well off and I don't need money, I just want to be a part of Division I program. Okay, well, that gets pretty easy. I mean, do you want to stay near home? Yeah, I do. Okay, Kent State, Ohio State,
Right.
Ohio University, So it becomes pretty easy. There's someone I just helped. He just committed to a college, and there's three schools he was looking at, and you know, I broke it down just like that, and he ended up making the decision like a day later. So yeah, I think it's important to factor all those things in.
Mhm. When you decided to go to Ignatius, what played a part in your decision? Was that like parents too? How did you make that choice?
That's a long story. Um, yeah, no, my parents were a big part of the decision. My dad says that it was up to me, but I didn't really feel that way. Both schools are great. Yeah, yeah. He said the choice there, we had this one specific conversation because I was up in the air about it. I liked St. Ed's a lot, and I was actually looking at university school, and I think I even took the test for Padua for some reason. Well, their program was pretty good. Um, but we had this one conversation. I kind of saw the writing on the walls, like, and I did agree with him. So um yeah, I was 14 at the time, and I was excited for St. Ignatius. I mean, the big reason why we went there is we knew it was a great school,
Mhm.
and we kind of wanted to build something new. Um, my brother had already gone to St. Ed's. I knew that I could go there and do really well. I thought it would be um, special and maybe something I'd be remembered for if we helped build the St. Ignatius wrestling program. And
Yeah.
I mean, since I've been there, we've had quite a few state champions actually. I think like four since I've been 4 or 5 since I've been there. But and I feel like that's kind of been my thing all the way through wrestling. Like every program that I went to got better. So that was a big reason why we wanted to go to Ignatius. We knew the school was really good, and we wanted like I mean, whenever people talk about St. Ed's, they always refer back to Howard Ferguson.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to accomplish something like that. Not quite, but yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're a kid, and parents are really the ones that are dictating your education.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
I honestly think either way, wherever I would have went, things would have worked out really well.
yeah.
I was just happy that my parents were willing to pay for me to go to a private school and not. I would have went to Cleveland Public School, and so it was a good opportunity for me either way. I do think that by going to St. Ignatius, it just led me down this specific path and why I'm talking to you here right now. I mean, I always look at my kids and my wife and I'm like, me going to St. Ignatius not probably, but it all like went in order. It's how I ended up going to Edinburgh.
Mhm.
And I just think
And
everything's connected, right? Had I gone to St. Ed's, I don't know, maybe I would have had better grades and was a 4-time state champ or something and went to Ohio State and met someone else and I'd be living in California. I don't know. I don't think things would have went exactly how they went. And all I can say is I'm happy with my life and I'm happy how everything's turned out so far. So
yeah, I think it was the right choice.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to like younger kids, maybe youth and middle school, obviously like the foundation of wrestling, the basics are super important to build a successful wrestler. What do you look for as like the building blocks when you're coaching and building a wrestler and they're green to the sport? What are you looking for as far as what's like most important?
Not to sound cliche or whatever, but it's overlooked a lot. I think keeping it fun and keep them coming back. Um, that's probably number one. I mean, if you enjoy it, then nobody likes to do stuff they don't want to do. And you do kind of teach that as a parent or teacher or coach that I mean if they want to go to practice because they enjoy it, that's awesome. I enjoy wrestling, so it's easy for me. Like people have said, like, wow, they'll watch me wrestle or whatever. They know I coach and they talk about how hard it is, and I'm like,
Mhm.
maybe it's hard, but I like it, so it's not that hard for me. Like I said, like coming to work's kind of hard. I don't mind it, but I'm not absolutely in love with it, but I love wrestling. So one is keep it fun, and then if you keep it fun, they'll keep coming back. The more you go to practice, the better you're gonna get, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think you were asking more of like what would be a wrestling attribute you'd look for a kid. I mean, just someone who's coachable and works hard. I mean, because everybody's different. Some kids, you could grab 50 kids and it could be their first day, and they're all going to look different. Some kids are going to catch on really quick. Some kids, take way long. And it's not just kids; it's people, right? So some people are gifted differently, and some people learn at much different rates. So, but all you can ask of the kid is to show up, work hard, have a good time.
Mhm. Yeah. I've watched my son. His first year of wrestling was youth, and that was 3 years ago. And he went to state, didn't place. Um, and then he stopped having fun with it for a little bit. Um, he wasn't really feeling it. He wasn't having a good time. So we didn't really do a whole lot. We trained a little bit and that was it. But now this year he's having fun. He's doing well. He's actually like learning stuff and catching on. So I feel like you're 100% correct with keeping the sport fun, keeping it fun. If I'm having fun in the room, I'm going to want to come back and I'm going to want to learn.
Yeah,
So I think that's huge. Um,
yeah.
what is one of the craziest like pre-match rituals you've ever seen a kid do, or
Uh,
like even back in the day? Because I've seen pennies and socks, I've seen like goofy underwear, I've seen all kinds of like weird stuff. So what is something crazy that you've seen?
to be honest with you,
Or shaving heads, like guys are out here shaving their whole hair off, like all of
oh, um, okay, I'll keep it anonymous.
it.
I would say I don't think he'd get upset or anything, but just in case if he did. But and actually he's kind of the leader of it, but then like a group of kids do it, but this this kid would like it's actually kind of normal, but this was just like too intense. It was like to another degree. But like I said, you get nervous before competition or fired up, whatever it is. Like you definitely like a heightened sense, some adrenaline. And this guy would be pacing like the tournament hasn't even started yet. It's like 30 minutes, and he's like doing the most intense pacing back and forth, and like literally I'm watching it and I'm getting tired. I'm like, man, you need to just go sit down. Please just go sit down and relax. Like you're pacing like and then like I end up like getting like distracted by like now that's all I'm focused on is I'm like watching this dude pace back and forth and I'm like getting tired watching him too. I mean, like that's the only thing I could think of. And then funny enough, like his teammates like would do it too. And I'm like guys, just go sit down, please. Like,
Nervous
if you're
energy,
like
I think.
if you're like just outside the hole or if you're in the hole, like you pace, but like till then, just like have a seat or something. Go on TikTok or something.
Yep.
So
Great.
that's all I can think of, really. Yeah, that's all I can think of.
So I'll end the interview with Iron Man. Iron Man's this weekend. And
Yeah.
last year, you have a post on your Instagram, day after Iron Man in the room, back to work immediately, like
Yeah.
no breaks. And I think that is awesome. That kind of work ethic and the dedication is huge. What do you have to say about coming off a tournament like that and right back in the room the next day?
Yeah, to me that was I appreciate you pointing that out. That was nothing to me. I mean, like
Normal, right?
it's normal. So I guess
Yes.
I guess I guess part of coaching is you have to teach that to kids. But okay, so I remember hearing stories of guys like they lost at the NCAAs, and the next day they're back in the gym. And I remember just thinking like that was crazy. Because the natural things you want to break, right? You just
Yeah.
had a tournament, you want to break. But when I was in, so I remember thinking that was crazy at first, but then my freshman and sophomore year, I didn't place at the NCAAs, and I think Division I wrestling, wrestling is definitely brought the most emotions out of me, and it definitely has highs and lows, and as much as happiness as it's brought me, it's also brought me like some of my worst moments too. But my freshman sophomore year, I had like a really good season, and I beat a ton of All-Americans, but then I didn't place at the tournament, and I was not used to that ever. Like I can't name many tournaments I haven't placed in, and I went in the room right after, and I remember my coach told me to um like take a week off. And for me, what my mindset was, and my mindset still is this way, like it's like fresh in my head right now. Like I just lost, let's say yesterday, right? So our guy Sam, he lost in the Ironman finals in double overtime. It's like I don't want to wait 2 weeks to address this, right? Let's address it now. Now I told my coach, I said, look, I promise you this. I said, I'm gonna keep coming into the room. I'm like, I'm not, it's like, yeah, it's like everyone acts like, by the end of the season, you need this break. It's like, why couldn't I go another week longer? Right. So what I like to do is I like to go in that whole next week because I was clearly like, it's fresh in your head, right? Everyone says like with time, you forget, time you heal. So I said, look, I promise you, like sometime in the summer, I'm gonna want my week off. I'm like, I'm gonna take the week off. So I'm like, but right now, I'm like, I don't want to address this in like a month when I don't care as much.
It's
It's
up here
fresh in my
now.
head.
Let's work
I
it
want
out
to
now.
address it so I feel some kind of right now. Yeah. Because I remember, I think maybe like I don't know, maybe it was state or something. I remember one time I did take time off right after, and it was like, I just thought about it the whole week, and then it wasn't even addressed till later. And you know what I mean? So, but hey, if you need a break, then you need a break. I think everybody's a little different in that sense, but
My
yeah, it
son
is.
comes home
It
and
is.
does that to me. My son, if
What?
when my son makes a mistake in a tournament, I'll be like in the kitchen washing dishes or like putting stuff away, and he'll come in and be like, "Hey, come here for a second," like,
Yeah.
and he'll drag me in the living room or something, and he'll be like, "Hey, do you think if I would have like went in for a single?" And I'm like, "I don't go watch your video. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't."
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, he
So,
drives me nuts
so
sometimes.
yeah. So and again, and it goes back to enjoying the sport, right? Like if Sam Cartella didn't love wrestling, you just said, no, I just wrestled a tournament. I'm tired. I need the day off.
Yeah,
And if I didn't enjoy wrestling, I would have said, hey, it's Sunday. I don't need to come in, blah, 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 blah. Well, we both loved wrestling. We said, hey, why don't we go over some stuff we saw at the tournament tomorrow? And then we both went in.
that's awesome.
Um,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that, and there's a quote in there. I'm gonna use it for your video when I make your graphic, but I
sure.
that stood out to me. I was like, that's pretty cool. I liked it. So,
Yeah.
but I appreciate you taking the
Do you
time.
remember the quote?
I have it written down on my paper.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I had to cheat.
Okay.
But
No
I
problem.
really appreciate you taking the time to sit and talk with me. Obviously it was a must because the kids recommended it. Andrew
Yeah.
recommended it. He's like, dude, he was relentless. Like, you got to talk to him. Like, okay.
Yeah,
And
I
then
appreciate that.
then I had to sit and watch your matches too. I was like, holy smokes. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, you have a good one. Are you going to be at Ironman this weekend?
Oh, yeah. We got 5 guys wrestling in it.
Nice. That's awesome. All right. Well, I'll
All
end up
right.
seeing you this weekend then.
I'll see you this weekend. Send me the link so I can share it whenever you post this.
Yep, for sure.
All right. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.